Hello everybody, it's Stewart A. Swerdlow again for Expansions News, and it is the last day of January 2012, and I have a lot of news for you, and some of it's a bit weird. For example, this past week it was revealed that scientists, or I should say oceanographers from Sweden, on a mission in somewhere in the Baltic Sea between Finland and Sweden, as they were about to wrap up their adventure and come back home, discovered at the bottom of the Baltic Sea a huge object lying at the bottom. It kind of looked like a shape of a seashell, but kind of like the Shell gas stations that you'd see, that kind of shell. And right next to it, they found another disc, same kind of shape, just a couple of hundred meters away from it. They were approximately, I believe, 240 meters under the water at the seabed. They did not have enough time to see what it was, but the researchers said his first initial thought was, I just found UFOs at the bottom of the water. And he announced that to all of the people on the ship. Well, of course, this time of year it's too rough to go back and see what was going on. So they will be going back this May 2012, hopefully to the same location, and go under the water to see what it is. And what a perfect time to discover an undersea UFO right before the staged alien invasion. In other related news, not too far away in Britain, there was a huge hailstorm, and in the hail, blue globes or spheres dropped down to the ground. When they were examined, it was determined that they were not biological and maybe not even natural. The man who rescued these blue spheres from the ground put one in his freezer and is having it analyzed by an institute in Britain. And the results have not yet been released, but it will be interesting to find out what are these blue globes. Now, in more mysterious news, you may have seen this, the snowy white owl from the Arctic has been seen very far south in North America. In fact, as far south as places like Oklahoma. And it's not supposed to be like that in the winter. They're supposed to be up by the North Pole. What would cause the snowy white owl to come this far south? Of course, the researchers say global warming. That's the answer to everything. But why would they go someplace even warmer if they need to be in a cold climate? So that's not the answer. And then someone else said maybe they were looking for food. Well, there's not going to be food in the winter in New England or in the Midwest, so that can't be the answer either. To me, something spooked them, just like something is spooking the whales and the sharks in the water in the ocean and making them come closer to shore. Something up is going on in the North Pole and making the animals come further south. In fact, even here in Michigan, the bears have been working their way further south because something's going on up north and that's bothering them. Speaking of Midwest and here in the Great Lakes area, they have announced once again the Great Central U.S. Shakeout. And what that means is they're preparing the entire region for a massive earthquake in the 200th anniversary of the Great Quakes of 1811 and 1812. Some of you may remember last May of 2011, there was another Great Central U.S. Shakeout in which almost 2 million people participated, simulating an earthquake of almost 8 or 9 on the Richter scale. Now, back in 1811 and 1812, there were 3 huge quakes centered in the New Madrid Fault Zone near Missouri and Tennessee, and that was felt from Boston to the Rocky Mountains to the Canadian border to the Gulf of Mexico. It was huge, and it altered the course of the Mississippi. Islands disappeared, and entire Indian villages disappeared. Nobody knows how many actually perished, because in those days they didn't count the Indian population, they only counted the white settlers. So it is unknown how many thousands of the American Indians vanished during those 3 earthquakes, the last of which, the 3rd quake, was the largest, and it could have been over 9 on the Richter scale, and they're saying that might happen again. So yes, I did get my earthquake insurance here in Michigan because we have felt several quakes in the last several years, one of which was strong enough to shake the house pretty strongly for several minutes. And other news related to this kind of thing, Indian, East India, or I should say the Republic of India, News Service is reporting that the Popocatepetl volcano near Mexico City is erupting. Now it's odd that a news service in India would report this and not the local stations in North America. So we need to keep our eye on the Mexican volcano. Also, in relation to this, scientists are saying that we shouldn't be worrying about global warming, but the cycle 25 or sunspot activity, which is coming up, because they said it is reminiscent to the sunspot activity that happened in the 1300s and 1400s and again in the 1700s, which did cause a mini ice age. And this was enhanced by severe volcanic eruptions in the tropical zone of the Earth, which is what we're experiencing even now. So it's as if history is repeating itself again. And as I mentioned, despite the strange winter weather we've been having, which has been artificially created, by the way, we are going to experience an ice age coming up. So just keep your mucklucks in order. There have also been a warning for Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica for severe earthquakes to begin at any moment. And in fact, in Jamaica, they expect that quake to be very violent to the point where many coastal areas may vanish. I want to talk about something that's a little bit sensitive, and that is recently an Afghan man, his 21-year-old son, and his 42-year-old wife were convicted in Canada for the honor killings of his first wife and his 3 daughters. He called them whores, and that they didn't listen to him, they were dating, doing things he didn't like, wearing clothing he didn't like. So according to his Afghan tradition, he took it upon himself to enlist his second wife and his son to murder his 3 daughters. And for that, he got 25 years, they all got 25 years in prison without parole. And according to the prosecutor in Canada, he said, and I quote, that this is a justice or a great day for justice in Canada. Now, giving someone 25 years for murdering 4 people is not justice, because when the 21-year-old gets out at the age of 46, he has a whole few decades to start murdering people that he feels don't deserve to live. There's something wrong with what happened in Canada, and there's something very wrong with the mentality of those people. And again, they were from Afghanistan, but now, just a few days ago in Afghanistan, a husband murdered his wife, 22-year-old wife, because she gave birth to a girl child, a female, for the second time. The first child they had was a female, and he warned her if she gave birth to a second female, he would kill her, and he did. Now, let's look at that, people. Here we are, thousands of American and foreign troops in Afghanistan defending this country. Is this what we're defending? Honor killings, murder, negative thinking, thinking that is even lower than an animal would think. An animal doesn't kill its child because it's a female and doesn't like the way it's acting. There's something very wrong with what's going on in Central Asia, and we should not be defending that. In fact, we should be putting a fence around them and let them take care of their own selves. And I know that that is a very controversial subject, but that's something that should not be brought to North America. And we should not be there at all. Next thing is Iran. And there's been so much on the internet right now about the Israelis planning an attack on Iran before the end of this year and possibly before the summer. And many people have been talking about it. I do believe that this is a distinct possibility because Iran is very close to developing nuclear weapons, and they will not hesitate to use it on their enemies, or the ones they consider to be enemies. But did you know that the Iranians have merchant ships off the coasts of the United States, and that they have submarines in the Mediterranean, and that they even have ships in the Gulf of Mexico, harboring at their friends in Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela? And what if these ships are outfitted with missile launchers that contain nuclear weapons? We already know that the Iranians have missile launchers in the western part of their country that could reach Eastern Europe. So, what would happen if the Israelis attacked Iran? Would the Iranians then respond by unleashing missile attacks in Europe and North America? It's a distinct possibility and very likely. And in fact, at the border with Mexico, the U.S. border guard in the last couple of years have found evidence that Eastern Mediterranean and Central Asian people have crossed illegally into the U.S. and no one knows what they have carried with them. So right now, there are probably sleeper cells or active cells in North America waiting for the word to attack. They could attack supermarkets, malls, buses, what they call soft targets where there is no security and no one's checked before they go in. Movie theaters. You can kill hundreds of people in a moment doing something like that. Something to be aware of. And in my opinion, if something does happen with Iran, I don't think anyone should be going into public places until that's settled. Well, not very pleasant news, but that's what I have in store for you today. Please be sure to go to expansions.com and check out our Mind Pluck seminar, which is coming up at the end of February, and also our great health seminar at the end of April. Go online and look it up and register today. So until next time, this is Stewart A. Swerdlow for expansions.com.